Hello, namaste everyone. I hope you guys are doing great. Today's video is on the third house. And let me tell you, this is going to be an interesting one. So before we start with the third house, if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. If you would like to have your personal readings from me, you can check out the link in the description box, www.anmollastrology.com. Under reading and unique reading section, you can book a personal reading for yourself. If you want to sign up for courses, you can see those available on the same link. Okay, so let's get started with the third house today. Third house of the birth chart is, according to me, one of the important houses. Although this is not one of the kendras, this is not one of the trikonas. This is an upacha house. This is a house of kama bhav. This is the Sahaj sthan, right? Sahaj bhav. So this house, why this is an interesting house or why this is an important house, because nowadays when almost half or more than half of the population is actually suffering from depression, suffering from problems, lack of confidence, lack of willpower, this house is the house of willpower. This house is the house of your thoughts. And this house is the Bhavat Bhavam of the eighth house. Eighth from the eighth house. That's why it becomes an extremely important house for your transformations, for your thinking, for your thought process, for your understanding as well. And why I'm addressing to thinking, because this is the house which is going to tell us whether you are a person who thinks positive or you think negative. Actually, this is one of the houses that tells us that. The second one would be the 12th house. The third one would be the 9th house. It's actually a mix of these three houses. But third house, it's as per the Kalpurush Kundli, is ruled by the sign of Gemini and the planet Mercury, right? So that's why this is the house of one's skills, communication, technology, social presence, social media. Third house is the house of your siblings. It is the house of your close friends. Any person you consider as a very dear one to you, a close friend or a close relative that you discuss everything with, that is the third house. Third house is your neighbors as well. This is the house about your upbringing. What is that you are being nourished with in your very, very early childhood or at the time when you are in the womb of your mother? What traits do you inherit from your mother while you are in the womb? Right? So third house, I consider this house to be, and I always say this word, this is the house of one's assumptions. That's why this is the house of one's understanding. You would see people with moon in the third house, suppose, for example. These people are going to have a lot of assumptuous mind. Oh, just a second. Yeah. They have a habit of assuming the thoughts. They have a habit of assuming what the other person thinks of them. Whether, just you are having a normal conversation, maybe you are saying something else, but they are going to assume different things. Whether it is positive or it is negative, that has to be dependent on the sign, the total condition of moon. Okay, this is also the house of your efforts. How much efforts do you put in? How much hardworking are you? This is the house of shortcuts. So whenever you need to see if a person is very good with making shortcuts or is a person who will go by by the organized way, that is the third house. Saturn in the third house, Sun in the third house. Sun and Jupiter conjunction in the third house always will prefer and choose the right and ethical way, going by the books, going by the rules. Rahu in the third house, Moon in the third house, Venus in the third house, Mercury in the third house. Excellent shortcuts. These people know and love to make shortcuts. I've seen people with Mercury retrograde in the third house, or Rahu in the third house, or in fact, Moon in the third house, in fire or air signs. They just love to put up abbreviations to certain things. They love to have a very advanced communication. Like they love to make shortcuts of everything. They know how to get things done in a click. They're not the ones who are going to just go in good, for long hours. Sorry, work for long hours and all of that stuff. They are like time, and I won't say they are time conscious, but they just work like this. They're highly manipulative as well with communication. This is an important house of communication. This is also the house of your job stability as well. What kind of skills do you possess? What do you do with your hands? Because this is the house which is going to represent your shoulders, hands, and specifically your, your fist, your fingers. Okay, so any skill that you know, that you do with it. This is the house of knowledge. See, when you know about for example, you know about the basics of astrology, just like the basics, the scratch, that will be the third house. Then if you add on, maybe what are the combinations, how to study the combinations of astrology, that is the ninth house. When you start learning about nakshatras, when you start learning about the mythology, that's when fifth house comes in. So that is how we differentiate. Third house is the house of writing. Okay. This is the house of storytellers as well. Whenever you will see Jupiter in the third house, Mercury in the third house, oh my God, these people are going to give you all the definitions, all the details of a situation. Like an incident of 2 minutes is going to be elaborated into a 10-minute story. That is what this is. And there are more planets also which add a bit of flavor to it, but this is something, right? This is also the house of your risk taking abilities. So how much you are like Saturn in the third house, you wouldn't see those people to take risks. But a person with softer planets, like, or with even with Rahu, Jupiter, not Jupiter, Rahu, Mercury, yes, with Jupiter and Rahu conjunct in the third house, Mercury, Venus, all of these planets basically show these people are somewhere risk takers. You definitely need to see the Lord placement as well. You need to see the moon placement as well. But this is the house which actually represents your fears. So if this house matures, since it is an Upacha house, any malefic in this house is going to mature over a period of time and after going through obstacles. So after this house matures, these people are able to take strong risks if there is a strong third house. If there is a weak third house, they are going to be fearful. They are going to develop some fear. And that is why, see, almost you will see almost all the things are associated with the eighth house, but in an intense manner, because it is Bhavat Bhavam. We are also going to learn about that in the future. But Bhavat Bhavam concept is also a very good concept to understand the houses, right? So that's why this house tells us the risk-taking capability and also the confidence. How do you for the very first time, how do you see the confidence of an individual? By their way of communication, by their way of presenting themselves. So, a strong third house or strong planets, fiery planets, or strong planets, anyhow, they are going to help you with your self confidence. And when the third house heavily is afflicted, that means that gives you self consciousness. You're very conscious about your physique, you're conscious about yourself, about your communication. That's why you get bitters while speaking in front of, just two people or a large population as well. So the third house is going to tell the confidence. This is the house of travel, marketing, research. Any person with a prominent planet, ascendant lord in the third house, moon in the third house, any prominent planet in the third house, which connects either with your Atmakarka or your first lord, you will be a person, if you get to, understand, you just get informed of an information, you're going to start Googling it. Most of the people with the third house prominency are chalte firte Google. They have so much of information. They just feel curious. That's the magic of the sign of Gemini. They just feel curious to know about knowledge. Third house is also responsible for martial arts, any sports that you do with your hands, anything that you do using your body and your hands, like dancing, creative arts. Everything is the third house. And third house, like Saturn and Mercury in the third house, suppose, or certain planets in the third house can give you a very good sense of humor. If suppose Saturn, Mercury, Moon, dark sense of humor. Okay, so third house is actually interesting because it helps us understand the psychology of an individual. It helps us understand the interests of an individual and how it is different from the interests that we see from the 12th house. Is that the third house is about your hobbies that you perform, that you bring into action. And the 12th house is about just, the abilities that you secretly have. You might not bring that in action. It's just secretly there. Like, for example, you're a very intelligent person. You're good at identifying the smell, identifying the noises. That is the 12th house. That is something internal. With the third house, it becomes when you bring that out on the table, when you bring that out in the action. Okay. This house will represent your father-in-law. This house will represent the higher knowledge of your spouse and also the bhagya of your spouse. This house will represent the recognition, the gains, the desires of your firstborn or your children. This house will represent the expenses, the foreign travel of your mother as well. But let me tell you, third house is very important to understand relocation of an individual, whether they are going to settle in their own city or their country, or they are going to settle away from the country. One of the combinations I talked about in the foreign settlement video, that third lord going into the 12th house is a strong combination of buying a home overseas and making overseas your home and adapting the culture of another country. So third house also represents, siblings, neighbors. We talked about all of it, right? And it is the house of your father-in-law. Yes, that I also communicated. So let me see what else. I've written everything. Let me see what else. Yeah, one thing that is left would be the remedy for the third house. Usually, many people do have an afflicted or a problematic third house. That's why there are so many crimes out there, because third house is the house of your action. What you do with your hands, how you give signals to your body to act upon certain things, right? So for an afflicted third house, I would suggest to have, to recite Gayatri mantra every day, almost every day. You can do it for 40 days, or you can do it, just for 40 days, or just regularly all your life. And also, one of the things I would say is journaling, because the energy of the third house, in a in an instance, it could get negative. So as to balance the energy of third house, balance the thought process of an individual, one must do journaling or have a healthy communication with someone, like sharing their communication with someone. Although third house is also about the gossips, about getting viral over social media. So just be careful you're not getting that. You're not gossiping around, because, when a person does unnecessary gossips or defames another individual, they actually ruin their third house. Okay. So, guys, this was my analysis about the third house. I hope this must give you good insights into what the third house is about and how it is an interesting house. Okay, we'll see you next time with the fourth house video. Bye bye. Take care.